3 weird truths behind $10 million in online course sales. Let's get started. Truth number 1, being ready is a choice. So I don't know about you, but when I made the decision to create my first course, launch my first course, email my list for the first time, post something for the first time on Instagram, every single time that I had to do those things, I did them without waiting until I felt ready. And the reality was that in that minute, before I pressed send to send out my first email, or before I pressed post to create my first social media post, I had to decide to be ready. And the reason was because if I waited around until I felt ready, or if I waited around for someone to give me their opinion on whether they thought I was ready or not, I would still be waiting and I would have nothing to show for it. The truth is that every single time I took action in my business, I was completely unqualified to take that action step. And the reason why is because I had never done it before. The only way for me to learn how to do something was to do it, to make mistakes, to fail over and over and over again, and also taking the time to reflect and learn from those mistakes so that I didn't make the same ones again. Making mistakes is great, and the key is that you want to be making new mistakes, right? So we know we're kind of in a trap, or that we're stuck if we're like, you know what, I am literally making the same mistake over and over and over again, right? That's a problem. But there's nothing wrong with making new mistakes, right? Because what that really means is that you're stretching and you're growing. And I think a lot of times when people say, you know, I'm waiting until I feel ready, I think what they're really saying is, I'm scared that it's not going to work, or I'm scared that I'm going to fail. I'm scared it's not going to be perfect. And there is no such thing as perfection. There is no such thing as doing something for the first time and making no mistakes and have nothing go wrong, right? And so putting that expectation on ourselves that, oh, like we're getting ready to try up this big thing, and you know, whether it's launching your first course or whether it's building your first evergreen funnel or whatever the case may be, if you're putting all of this pressure on yourself to not only take that action and to take that step, but you're also putting pressure on yourself that not only do you have to take that step, but that step has to be perfect. That's ridiculous, right? That's a perfect example of the kind of thinking that leads people to wait until they feel ready, and then guess what? The day will never come that they actually feel ready. And so they're sitting there and they're like, why are all these people passing me by? Like, wow, that person felt ready. No, they didn't. Nobody felt ready. Nobody felt ready. And I really believe that mistakes are only a waste if, when you make a mistake, you blame everyone else and you fail to take the learning from that situation. That's the only time it's ever a waste. Mistakes are a gift. It's an opportunity to learn. Now, there's a few ways that I've learned over the years to mitigate risk for myself in those situations, because I am taking action when a lot of times it's something that I've never in my life done before. Number 1, I make sure I always have a plan. You always, always, always need to have a plan. You can't just go in there and do something big without a plan. You need to write it out. For me, it's always to get it on paper. I always like to get a second set of eyes of it. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Get some feedback so that I'm really going in there and I've kind of thought through at least some of the different scenarios that could play out. The second thing that I always do is surround myself with the right people. People who have done the thing that I'm going to do before. And the reason why is because that's going to fast track my success. Am I still going to make mistakes? Yes, 100%. I will still make mistakes, even though someone who's done it before is helping me, 100%. However, what the true benefit of that is that because they have that experience, because they've done it before, they're also able to help me kind of avoid some big mistakes that perhaps I would have also made. Could be very expensive mistakes that I would have also made if I didn't have kind of their guidance and their ability to look at my plan, see what and give me some feedback on what they think I might have missed. So huge, huge opportunity there. Always make a plan and surround yourself with people who have done the thing that you are looking to do, right? It's not about like copying exactly what they did verbatim, but it's about being with people who can meet you where you are. So when you're trying to do that thing and you make a mistake and you stumble and you fall, they're right there to let you know, hey, you know what? That's like, shake it off. That's totally normal. I remember that happened to me. Like, here we go. Keep going. Da, 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 da. Right? So truth number one, being ready is a choice. Weird truth number two that I've learned in making over $10 million in online course sales is that I actually started to make more money once I made the decision to stop launching. Now, if you guys are listening, I'm sure you've heard this a million times before, that, you know, the number one way to scale, the number one way to really grow your business is to launch over and over and over again, right? You need to do a challenge launch and a live webinar launch, and you need to host a live summit, and you need to host this and do that and host a giveaway and blah, whatever, right? You always have to be doing something live. And I don't know about you, but I totally get that method works for some people, but I didn't start my business until I was 35, and I had a young daughter, and I had no team, and I had no freaking time to be able to execute all of those big live things. And I tried. Like, I really did try. I was like, well, I guess this is just what I'm going to have to do. And so I forced myself into this situation where I was doing live launch after live launch after live launch, and I was just miserable. And I wasn't the only one that was miserable. My family was also miserable, because guess what? When I was launching, I was like the worst person to be around. And no matter how hard I tried, a lot of times I would take out my frustration by like making a snippy remark at my husband or losing my temper too quickly with my daughter. And I really regret those situations. And even though it was great to make that launch revenue, right? I was like, something is not right. Like, this is no longer aligned with the values that I have. And it's no longer aligned with like what I want for my life. And so I kept launching because I didn't know that, to be honest, I didn't know there was another way. And I'll never forget when I was at a mastermind and I was talking to this one guy, and he had, I think at the time his course was like $300. It was on home organization, right? So it was like all about like how to kind of get your home organized, or it might have even been more specific. I think it was like how to like organize your home office. So it was like really, really specific, right? $300. And so I was talking to this guy, and he was like, well, if you don't like launching, like, why are you still doing it? And I was just like, well, duh, because I want to make $1 million, right? So at the time I was making around 6 figures, and I was like, man, I really want to get to be able to, I want this to be my 7-figure year. And he was like, why don't you just why don't you just create an evergreen funnel to sell this thing? And I was like, oh yeah, like those never work, or those are never profitable, or the only way those work is to spend a ton of money on ads, or the only, I had all these excuses, all these things that I had heard. And he's like, let me show you something. And so he basically opens up his laptop, and I kid you not, it was like that moment in Pulp Fiction when they open the briefcase, and then like everything is like kind of glowing. Basically what he showed me is that he was making multiple six figures from selling one course with an evergreen funnel. And when he went through, like, he was so patient with me, and he literally went through, this was like not even the host of the mastermind. This was just some guy. And so he was like going through it, like point by point, every single thing. And I was just like, my mind was totally blown. I had no clue, right? I had no clue that was what was possible. And so I remember after that conversation, I went back to my team and I was like, you know what? If he can do it, we can do it. And so I just kind of had that attitude where, did he map out a step-by-step plan for me? No, he didn't. So I had to do that for myself, but he was there to kind of like give me some feedback on it. Now, I can guarantee if he had like some kind of, had some kind of a coaching program or something where he taught people to do what he had done, 100% I would have signed up for that thing like in a second, because then I could fast track my success. However, he didn't offer any of that. And he was like a busy family. He had a bunch of kids. He was like a busy family guy. He didn't have time to like coach me every step of the way, but he did have time to give me a little bit of coaching and feedback. Now, I can tell you that when I started to go through that process of deciding to go evergreen and to, stop launching, at no point in time was like, did I ever feel like, wow, I am fully prepared and this is going to be a big success no matter what. There was definitely, there was a lot of self-doubt. There was a lot of fear involved. However, I really decided to, just like channel my inner Julia child and have the courage of my conviction to just go forward and give it a try. Because even if it didn't work out, like I had to at least try, because this launch after launch after launch thing was just not working for me, and it definitely wasn't working for my family. And so I remember when I told the other members of my mastermind, they were all launchers. So they were always constantly launching. And so when I told them this, they were just like, like you could tell they thought it was kind of like crazy or whatever. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to try it. And so I did. And that was the year after years prior to that of launching and launching and launching, the year that I finally stopped launching was the year that I had my first $1 million year. That was the first year when I stopped launching, stopped doing all of the stuff that all of these launch experts were telling me to do. And by the way, if you love launching, if you are all about the launch life, then like have at it. Like that is awesome for you. It was just not a good option for me. I hated it. I hated the stress. I hated the up and down revenue. Like I felt it difficult to like hire people and build my team because like 1 month was up and the other was down. It was just all over the place. It was so stressful. And at the time I was the breadwinner for my family. So like I'm not just providing, like I'm not living on my parents' couch, right? Like I got to support myself and my family. So I need to get it together. And this whole like up and down thing is not getting me where I want to go. So I switched. So I made the decision to feel ready. I made the decision to be ready to go ahead and get my evergreen funnel up and running. And that's when my business really started to build momentum. And that's when things really started to take off for me. And that leads me to truth number 3, which is I made more money when I made the decision to sell less products. Now, I know that sounds very counterintuitive. And during that year that I decided to build out my evergreen funnel and really get that up and going, I had to make a decision to do less. And I knew that if I was going to really go all in and, build this funnel and get it to where I wanted it to be able to generate 7 figures for my business, I knew that I couldn't give it the attention that it needed if I was trying to do it for all of these other products, right? Or if I was trying to sell all of these other things. Because learning something new is hard, right? Like, let's face it, it's not always easy. It's fun. It can be fun and to learn something new, but it's not easy, right? Even if someone is able to be like, hey, you know what? Here is a simple plan. Simple doesn't mean easy. Like I am all about simplifying things, but it's not always easy, right? So in any case, I always thought that in order to make more money, I thought, really that there was no way that I would ever be able to generate $1 million in my business unless I had this like value ladder, right? I need to have a course and a group coaching program, and I need to have a mastermind, and I need to have a VIP day, and I need to have a one-on-one coach, and I need to have a this and a that, and like all of these things. I literally thought that. And the reason why is because I saw so many other people doing it. Again, if that's your bag, if you are into that, like have at it. But that, like, I didn't want that. I didn't want all of that complication in my life. It felt heavy and complex, and I was like, no, thank you. My ideal situation was to be able to sell one course with one evergreen funnel and to be able to scale that to $1 million inside of 1 year. Now, remember, I was already making money in my business, so this is not like a $0 to $1 million in 1 year story or whatever. It's not that. So I was already making 6 figures in my business. Okay. So I just want to say that because some people think, oh, I can do it in a year. It's like, okay, well, it takes a while, right? First, step 1, make your first 5 figures. Step 2, make your first 6. Then you make your first 7, then you make your first 8, whatever. So you got to, it's one step at a time. So anyway, I don't like to sugarcoat anything. So I'm just putting that in there. And what I found was that when I was able to sell one product, a few things happened. Number 1, I was able to really get clear on my marketing because I wasn't busy with trying to figure out, and I want to launch this other thing and do this other thing. I was able to give this one course my full attention, and I was able to really get creative and unlock some new ideas about how to position that course in a way that would attract more attention. The other benefit of selling one course is that I was able to build out systems to serve my students so that I didn't have to sacrifice their experience in exchange for more revenue, right? I wanted to make sure that it was always very important to me that, yes, I wanted to make more sales, but also I wanted people in my course to actually get the promised result, right? I wanted them to be able to feel supported. And that was a lot of trial and error. I got to be honest. This was like a few years ago, but it took a lot of trial and error for me to develop these evergreen systems for delivering an incredible client experience, an incredible student experience without me having to be little old me, all alone inside of that like course community 24/7. And I know that for you guys that are listening, I know even those of you that are like, are like ride or die for your students, you absolutely love them. I know how stressful it can be when it feels like you can't even take a weekend off. Like after you're eating dinner with your family, you're checking your phone because you got to check the Facebook group and see, what student is saying this or that, or who needs help and how can I, be a better coach and all these different things. It's like you need to create an evergreen enrollment experience that is not only going to, number 1, deliver the promised result and give them a great experience so that in turn, they'll be telling all of their friends about the program, right? You also need to do it in a way that is sustainable for you. And different people have different definitions of sustainable, again, based on what their life looks like. So I can tell you, like for myself, like my husband would travel a lot. I was at home with my daughter. Like it wasn't just like me alone and I could choose to work 24/7 if I wanted to and da-da-da-da-da. Now I guarantee that if I was, living with my parents, if I was, or if I was like, I don't know, like if I wasn't the breadwinner, if someone else was like making all the money and whatever, I probably would have worked 24/7, to be honest, because I really love what I do and I get really excited about doing what I'm doing. So actually it's kind of to be honest, I think it was a good thing that I had the family there to kind of put buffers on when I could and couldn't work. Because if those buffers weren't there, I probably would have just worked all the time. And it wouldn't have led me to discover this whole evergreen thing, right? So like the extra stress, having that extra stressor of having to be the breadwinner, which meant whatever I had to do, it had to be super profitable. And also I had to figure out a way to run my business in a way that also allowed me to show up for my family. So let me know what you think. What do you think about this idea of being ready is a choice? Has there ever been a time in your life where you didn't feel 100% ready, but despite that, you felt called to take action anyway? Let me know in the comments. And if you really enjoyed this episode, I would absolutely love it if you could leave a positive review. All of those reviews really help to boost our visibility so that we can help more course creators scale their business with success. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening.